has been completing the law by reading the fine details, the fine print of each law. As he talked about anger, and as he talked about adultery, and so many others. And he's addressed our actions in those. And what would be appropriate? What is how is it manifested in our lives in the highest form of living? And Jesus is saying to us, I've set the bar so high for you. This is what it means. There is no room for self-righteousness. There is no room, because our self-righteousness won't even make the cut. Won't even make the cut. There are tremendous athletes out there who are so skilled and so great at what they do. So many of them. Very few of them make the cut. Very few of them do. Because they're not that good. And the righteousness that God is talking about is the righteousness that is like His alone. And it's not self-righteousness at all. But He has addressed the law, and He has addressed the fine print. But it's interesting that up until this point, He hasn't said anything about the first commandment. You shall have no other gods before you. I believe in these verses, and continuing on in the verses after, in the verses following verse 24, in these verses, He's about to address that. He's about to address the fine print of the first commandment. The first commandment being, you shall have no other gods before you. And what does that boil down to? Well, it boils down to a question. A question is where our treasure is. What do we value? In other words, the first commandment can easily read, do not value any other gods or any other things but me. Where is your treasure? And Jesus very practically begins to address heavenly treasure versus earthly treasure, where He says, do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. We know this to be true. We know this to be true for all of us. I remember precious things that I've had. I remember pieces of artwork that I used to have that they're no more. They could have been lost or stolen, but they're no more. It's very interesting that my mom gave me a pile she laid before me this pile of my old artwork. And she gave me a file of that, and I'm looking at these and I'm going, when did I do this? When I was 4. I was in high school, and I see this art, and I'm wishing that would get stolen. I'm wishing that would get lost, but no, they're all there. We have to be very careful of what we treasure, because this earth and this life that we live in is extremely finite. Therefore, anything that belongs to the earth and belongs to the world shares that same finite characteristic. It's not going to last. I'm not going to last. I'm falling apart, beginning with my ears, right here. Because skin gets basal cancer, especially if you're pale like me. These things happen. We're falling apart. You don't walk like you used to. I have 4 steps in my room, in our room, that I have to climb to use the restroom every day. Just 4 steps. And I literally lay in bed saying, I think I'll be okay. because I don't want to face the steps. That which we treasure is going to inhere on earth, and that which belongs to the earth that has finite characteristics, they're going to go away. Fortunes are going to go away. Cars are going to break down. Houses and buildings are going to need to be repaired. Air conditionings aren't going to work. They're going to get old. They're going to need a new paint job. Our efforts to hold on to our treasure are really futile if you really think about it. And so we have to be very careful of what we value. Very careful of where our treasure is and what our treasure is. And what Jesus is saying, and I think just to put simply, we could say, put it this way. Where's your treasure? Where are you strategically placing it? What strategy are you using to store your treasure or to real treasure? And it's called strategic placement. He's saying, if you're storing your treasure here on earth, that's not a good strategy. Because of this, because of this, and because of this, and because of this. If you storing your treasure in heaven is a better strategy. And to be strategic, to place it strategically into the hands of God, whatever that is. And God will tell you, I'll take this. I'll take this. This is the treasure. Your relationship and the kindness and the goodness that you share, that's the treasure I'll store for you. I'll keep that safe. Don't worry about that. That's the one. That's the richness of it. That's what I want. And so, just as an aside, let's think of that phrase, strategically placed. That God takes our treasure and strategically places it. Now, one of the treasures is you. Let's keep that, and let's understand that, and let's agree with it. God sees value in you. You are a treasure to God. And you are a treasure to yourself. You are important to you. And you are important to others. God has value in you. You are important to your children, to your grandchildren, to your friends, to your spouses, to your community. You are important and you are valued. You are a treasure. You're a treasure. A treasure that needs to be strategically placed in order that you continue. In order that your value will be secure. And God knew what a treasure you and I are to Him. So He developed a plan and a strategy where that treasure can be stored with Him in His keeping, safeguard forever and ever and ever. And that's why He sent Jesus. So this treasure that you are, and if you know Jesus as Savior and Lord, you are stored. Your life is safe in Jesus. In the meantime, so you are strategically placed. But that's just not in heaven. You are strategically placed if you are in the will of God and you are following His way and you are being led by the Holy Spirit. Wherever you are strategically placed for the purpose of the kingdom of God. To bring lasting treasure that nothing can be destroyed in your job. You are strategically placed. Pastor, I don't like my job. Nevertheless, you are strategically placed for a certain time. In whatever task that you're doing, you are strategic to the kingdom of God, that you are exactly where God needs you to be at that place in time. Is it perfect? No. But the lives that you're going to touch and who you're going to touch. See, some of us have a job to get a paycheck. Some of us have jobs to get a paycheck. God's people have jobs for the kingdom of God. Oh, and they just happen to get a paycheck. They just happen to get paid for it. But you are placed to be that blessing. And that blessing, that's the treasure you are building, the lives that you connect with. The blessing you are to them. And that they are to you. That's something that the earth and the world cannot take away. But that heaven stores up. And he says, so God continues and gives us a place in which our treasure can be stored. And he says, but lay up for yourselves treasure in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So where are you? Jesus is asking where our investments are. Where's our investments? What is taking our time? What is taking our focus? Because that's a reflection of our heart. For where our treasure is, that's where our heart is. Where's your heart? And that's what Jesus is asking, and all those who are hearing him in the Sermon on the Mount. Where's your heart? What has your heart? Who has your heart? What has your time? Who has your time? And then he says a kind of a strange thing in connection to this. We're talking about treasure, and then all of a sudden he moves to the eye. To the eye. And I've always found this kind of strange and odd. And when I was doing acting and my memory was spot on, quite oftentimes I was about 10 times I was involved in the musical Godspell. Too many of those times, when I say too many of the times, because I was in my 40s still playing Jesus, and I was getting a little long in the tooth playing the Jesus character in Godspell. But I had to literally memorize the book of Matthew as Jesus. And I remember when we come to this point in the play, and I had to say these lines, or these lines were said, the lamp of the body is the eye. And I can see it vividly how it was portrayed and how it was staged each time. I never really understood what it was and what Jesus was talking about. I knew that it was a great philosophy. I knew it was something that was big, but I never gave it that much attention. Because I think the others before it, the other scriptures and verses before it, and the ones after it, held my attention more than that did. But when I began to look at it and study it, it became very interesting to me. And it says, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. Now the King James Version puts it this way. The life body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. I thought that was a strange way, strange translation. Well, in one sense, the King James Version is really more correct and true to the Greek meaning of it. Because the word that is used, the Greek word that is used, is single, is translated to be single. It uses the word haplos. Haplos. Haplos literally means in the Greek, this word means generous. Generous. So what Jesus is saying, if your eye is generous, you shall be full of light. Your whole body shall be full of light. And what does that mean when we talk about it? We see it's unblocked and unfiltered. It's how we see situations and others that are unblocked and unfiltered. Now, the other side of it, if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If in the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? And what what Jesus, this word that is used for if your light is bad, is the Greek word paneros, which literally means wicked, evil. If your eye is evil, if your eye is wicked, literally if your eye is blocked or filtered. I know some of you at a certain age have to deal with eye issues. I can't think of them right off the top of my head. I had them like 5 minutes ago, but I can't think of that. But you know, when you have eye issues, that you have, it's fuzzy. I got those things happening right now where it looks like those floaters. Something's going on, and I said, "What's going on?" I think it's a gnat, and I'm trying to look for it. What's that? And it's just this floater thing that's right over here. And it hinders, it blocks, those things with our eye. In other words, we don't see as clearly as we should see. And what Jesus is addressing is, it's a generous heart versus a filtered heart, versus a grudging heart. And what Jesus is calling us to be and to do is to be that people that has an unfiltered way of seeing life and seeing people and seeing circumstances. What we're involved now in our nation, we have eye problems. Something is blocked. People are being seen now through filters of prejudice, through filters of haves and have-nots, through filters of color. To see what Jesus is saying, he says, when he's saying that when the eye is good, when the eye is single, when the eye is generous, what we see is we literally see how God sees. God sees with a generous eye. God sees with a gracious eye. God sees with a desire to bless, with a desire to pour out on his people and to pour out on his children. And he wants us to see each other without the preconceived notions of what somebody is and what somebody is not. And just see people. To not see enemies, but to see people. To not see a particular race or a particular culture or a particular religion, but to see people. To see treasures. To see treasures. That which God loves. And which God calls us to be gracious to each other. When your eye is generous, your whole body shall be full of light. But when your eye is wicked, when your eye is wicked, you're going to live a filtered life. And you're not going to see clearly. And you're not going to be able to love and appreciate what God has put before you. It's always going to, as if we look through life like these beautiful colored windows here, but we really don't see anything. We really don't see what is there beyond that. We just see what's in front of us. William Barclay puts it this way. And he sums up Jesus' words in a very beautiful way, where he says, there is nothing like generosity for giving you a clear and undistorted view of life and people. And there is nothing like the grudging and ungenerous spirit for distorting your view of life and people. And then Jesus goes on to say, no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. We cannot have two masters. We cannot have two masters. God and money. And I submit to you this. We cannot have two masters for the very practical reason that one of them is going to be a taskmaster. One of them is going to inflict upon you tyranny. Now this is coming from a culture that experienced what it meant that they had in their heritage and 400 years of taskmasters, 400 years of tyranny, and in their history has experienced one tyranny for another. Because in serving God, other gods, and serving other gods than God himself, and obeying him, they have found themselves at the mercy of taskmasters. So we either serve a master who is a tyrant, or we serve God, who has proved himself over and over and over and over again as a generous and gracious master, whose love for us and his service to us is only to increase our value to ourselves and to others. God has proven himself as anything but a taskmaster. He's generous. But he says you can't, Jesus says you can't have it both ways. You can't serve two masters. For you're going to love one and hate the other. You got to choose. And then he said, and then he puts it to the point. You can't serve God and money. You can't serve God and money. Just by that phrase, can't serve God and money, makes my point about one master being a tyrant and one master not. Is it just me, or has anybody else lost sleep because you're worried about what? Money. What's in the till? And you talk about a robber and a thief. That's the robber and the thief. Money has been responsible for so much evil in this world. Money has proven itself to be a taskmaster. Money robs my joy. It also gives me joy, but it doesn't last very long. At all. It steals my joy. And it steals our joy. What do we worry about? Where's it going to come from? Do we have enough? What are we going to do about it? Can I afford this? Can I do this? Can I do that? I don't know, I can't. And it all depends, and the question is, do we have the money? Now, I know what you do. I know what you do if you win the lottery. I know what you do. If you won the lottery, each of us, if we won the lottery, I can tell you that you would be the most generous person on the planet. That's what you've told. That's what you plan. I know. I've heard the conversations. Not really. But I'm guessing. But I think I'm guessing correct. You know God. If I win that money, all our church's problems are solved. You know, God, if I got the money, if I get that money, boy, there's a village in Africa that's going to be set up for life, because I'm going to do it. And God says, I'm your master. I already have your plan. I have your life. You're taken care of. This church is taken care of. I have it. That village that you're concerned about, already there. Already taken care of it. I've already called the people who are called to that village, that very village that you're concerned about. They're coming. I'm sending my people there already. I'm taking care of you. If you happen to win the lottery, don't blame me, blame luck. You got lucky. Because you've already won the lottery, my child. You've already won. You already have treasure beyond you can even think of. So let's not focus on the tyranny of money, God says to us. Let's not focus on what if or what will happen if we don't have it. Focus on the fact that my heart is for you. And I want to lead you to a place where you can prosper and not leave prosperity up to our understanding or our idea of what prosperity is and what prosperous is. We can only leave it up to God and His generosity and His value and His love for us and trust in that and trust that God has us and will not let us go. He's a beautiful, generous, loving Father who doesn't want us to wallow in worry and anxiety, but to dance in spirit and to rejoice in His life that He gives to us, to rejoice in the moments and treasure those. You know what I treasure today? What I treasure today? That after a year and a half, I could sit down on the couch this morning and listen to worship music and have a cup of coffee with Sue. What my heart did said, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And our eyes are open to the beauty of people when we're not worried about it. That we can do something nice, something good to somebody else. This is the beauty of this. God asks us to be good stewards and to be wise. Nothing is taken away.